Before we hit record today, I gave myself some feedback, and it was feedback that if you've watched our YouTube channel, you will see that we now have videos for our podcast. And in every single one, it doesn't matter how interesting the topic is, I look like the most bored, disassociated, not paying
Thanks.
attention. No, you don't. You're really good. Feedback for you. You're always like,
I know, but
"Oh,
I bore
ah."
you. But I bore you.
Oh, no, you don't bore me at all. I think what I've learned actually years ago, someone said our listening faces look bored because we're not paying attention to how we put our faces because we're just immersed in the topic. But when you are recording yourself for other people to watch, you you have to pretend that your face when you're interested makes different shapes than it actually makes.
Yeah, change your listening face. Okay. Well, on that, we're chatting
Ooh.
criticism. We're chat on that topic, we're chatting criticism and feedback today. And I wanna ask you first, Nat. I just got off a really interesting call, so I wanna share when we get to the feedback section on that. And you're diving into criticism for next week's Newsy, but which will be this week's Newsy. But have you had any criticism specifically that has stuck with you? Can you remember anything? I had to think about this one a little bit.
I remember the first one that comes to mind. I haven't thought about this at all, but years ago when I was single and I was thinking about having kids on my own, and someone said, "Well, of course you would, wanting to do everything on your own and be all independent." And I was like, "Wow, you have very strong feelings about my life choices." Um,
Is
those
this person
was
a friend?
yeah, well, a friend and loosely, like a friend
Yeah.
who I wasn't like a close friend or anything, but I definitely got a lot of what I would consider criticism at that time. People, I've mentioned this before, really stings, people calling me selfish for, like, choosing not to have babies, choosing to have babies on my own. Both of those 2 choices, I've been told by multiple people, are selfish. So I feel like that criticism and yeah, that stuff really stings because it's people criticizing your life choices, in a way
Mm,
that doesn't feel like they are on your team at all. So those are the ones that stick in my head. I've
mm.
probably had some at work too, but I genuinely feel like I don't mind.
I think it's when it bleeds from professional or something that you can separate yourself from to, like, really personal,
Yes,
often emotional things, or often things we can't or won't change. So that's
yes.
interesting
I
because
don't even
that's
mind if someone criticizes my work or gives me feedback on my work, but
mm,
criticizing who I am, that's
mm.
always gonna be tough. What about you? Have you got any?
I struggled a little bit, and that's only because I haven't been thinking about
Mm.
it. So all I went back was into my memory bank of, like, what was something I heard that I still once in a while think about? And this was a personality trait of mine, and it's one I think I know, and some people really celebrate this personality trait
Okay.
of mine, and other people, frankly, can't take it. So I'm like, I think it's criticism because, like, they were criticizing the way I am. But then equally, I'm like, I think over time, I found it surprising because it was probably the first time I heard that word, which I will tell you in a minute, and it will not surprise you. And then now I'm like, nah, I embrace it. Because it is what it is.
What
And
is it?
like,
What is it?
Kristen is so intense.
Oh.
So intense, and it was a guy, can't remember, it was uni days, and, I am intense, and back then I was surprised because I was like, "But I'm so friendly, and I'm, like, chatty and blah, blah, blah," and then I realized what it is, and when I get into conversations, as you know, with new people, I dive into, like, journalistic mode, and I go deep, and I'm, like, asking 20 questions, and I think some people find that a lot, and some people love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I thought I
What's
should
the
tell a
quote? "It's
story.
better to be loved by few and hated by few than bland and mediocre to everyone." Like,
I am a taste to be acquired, like, I am intense, and some people are really energized by that, and others aren't, and I can appreciate that I can come on a little bit strongly when you first meet me. I was at a networking we were at a networking session last week, which was fabulous, and someone was like, "I'm involved in this line of work," and I was like, And I just dug straight in, and the third person that was in the circle was like, "What forensic analysis? I'm loving these questions." And they loved it because we had great banter going. I was praised for my intensity, which I loved, and it was just a funny and I was like, "Yeah, I am intense." And then on the ride home, my son picked us up and drove us home, and he said, "Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, mom, one of my friends said you are the most active listener they have ever met." And I'm like, "Yeah, I go deep and fast." And I'm like,
That's why you have such great facials in our YouTube videos, because 'cause you're actively hilariously, firstly, I wanna say, I don't think you're an acquired taste. I think we should all be an acquired taste. I think
yeah,
the whole purpose of knowing who you are and what you're about means that there are gonna be people who don't like you or don't get it, and that's fine. Like, so I don't think it's you specifically. I think that's what we should all aim to be because it's a sign that you really know who you are and what you like.
yeah.
And people who don't like having that type of conversation, you're probably not gonna get along with that well. So I think that's, like, okay to go, "We're not each other's people." Um, I can't remember the second thing I was gonna say.
Mm.
It's a Monday.
What about tips? What about tips on criticism? You're digging into this now.
Mm,
How can we okay, so any given criticism that we get, of which some stuff will be as you listen, no doubt, our power suiters, stuff will be coming up for you.
mm.
What are some tips?
Well, okay, should we first define well, I'm just
You
gonna
define. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna come up with my definition because
Great.
this is something that's sort of evolved with a lot of input over the years. So there is a difference between feedback and criticism, and there is also a reason why we're doing it this week, discussing it, because there was a LinkedIn incident where someone criticized someone and then said, "Feedback is queen, right?" And I was like, "Yes, feedback is queen, but you didn't give any, you just criticized." So criticism is when you might be feeling frustrated, you might have something that someone irritates you on, and you tell them that thing. And it is not delivered in any way designed to help or support them or even with their best interest in mind. It is you're annoyed and you want to share your opinion. Feedback is delivered with best intentions. It is designed to help the other person succeed. So the whole conversation is, I want you to win at life. And so I'm giving you this as a supporter in that. It is always clear and actionable. So if you criticize, you might say something like, you have to be so independent. I can't do anything about that. Like, what am I going to take action on that? Whereas feedback would be a way that I could say, it could be, have you considered trying to explain this in a slightly different way? Or you have, when you say that you want to have babies on your own, it makes other people feel X and you could maybe try a different approach, whatever it is. So it has to be clear and actionable. And I think the third part of feedback, so it has to be delivered with good intent, it has to be clear and actionable. And usually, if it's constructive, it should be in a private environment. Whereas often criticism, if you've been on the internet in the last 10 or so years, you'll notice it's just spat out in public and it is sort of in the end, I don't know, designed or otherwise, shames the other person or makes them feel a bit yuck.
This feels so interesting because there are few broad themes that crop up when it comes to women and feedback. And the first thing I think that's really interesting is it's often around their personalities or things that are unrelated to their work. To me, this is interesting in that I would put that in a criticism. Like people are, again, Kristen, you're so intense, criticizing me for my fabulous personality. And the other end of the spectrum is that it is vague, which then you talked about the specific, that it should be specific. I think we should touch on both. So let's talk about that feedback often falls into that criticism category when, and this is research that shows that performance reviews, when they come around, and this is a broad study that was done on gender, men versus women. And when it came to women, most of the feedback showed that it was around personality and how they, executive presence, and how they might have showed up at work. So it used words such as, and this is what this research founding was abrasive, judgmental, strident. I don't even know what strident is. I mean, I broadly know what
Is
strident
strident
means, but
like I'm
yeah.
moving forward, pushing through obstacles without kind of
Mhm.
caring what
It
breaks
sounds
in my
verb-like.
path?
It does sound verb-like. But so it felt like that falls into the criticism territory as opposed to in a performance review. If we are giving feedback, um, yeah. Agreed? What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And that is why we wanted to tackle this is because like the LinkedIn example, so often women are giving criticism under the disguise of feedback, and then people go, "Why didn't she well, she can't take it, she's being emotional," and actually the outcome of giving criticism is it normally stops someone doing what they're doing. So, you'll see it with public figures, and primarily, again, it's women. Criticize, criticize, criticize how they look, criticize how they act, criticize their behavior in public, criticize their policies, criticize, 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 and they quit. That is the outcome that you're effectively pushing towards, and criticizing someone's personality, their identity, you are basically say, "Be smaller, be less, change who you are," and the result is that you quit because, like, you can't
Is
do
it
anything about it.
do you think, and back to your LinkedIn example, do you think criticism is a reflection on how you've made someone feel? Therefore, if you don't fit in the box of someone who should be passive and collaborative, and or act like this, that they are triggered and they give you that feedback. Or, for example, that person saw whatever was going on in that post and was triggered, but had flipped it so it was feedback? Like, is it something going on for the deliverer, I
Yes,
suppose is where
I
I'm
think
yeah.
criticism is
Yeah.
all about the deliverer because
Yeah.
there is nothing in it designed to help you as the recipient. Like, there is not a thought in it, and we all do this, by the way. We are all guilty of
Mhm.
criticizing, and when you're in that mode, you're normally annoyed, you're frustrated, you feel wronged, you feel like they've done something, you feel on your high horse, me, and then you say something because you have all these emotions around it. Whereas
Mm.
feedback, you're like, you. I want you to succeed and I am on your team. And so I do think, and you see it all the time online, and trigger is a great word for this. People are so triggered by each other, and it's nothing to do with the person who they're criticizing. It's just their
Mm.
own response. And honestly, it shows low emotional maturity, which is why we all do it. But like, you want to sort of avoid it as much as possible because it's when you've kind of lost control of your own reaction to something, and then you're dumping that on someone else and blaming them for it without any self-reflection.
I think it's worth pointing out there's this effect that's called idiosyncratic rater effect, and what it
Woo!
shows is it's basically like the fallibility of humans and opinions, and when, people are being rated, quite often what they find is that half of the rating when you are, being delivered feedback and or criticism, whatever it is, okay, let's say criticism is probably more than half, but half of a rating is impacted by the person's mood.
Yeah.
So they often will take studies of like two managers that watch the person do the same piece of work, and they'll have very different ratings of that person. And it's often dependent on, did they have breakfast? They having a good morning, a bad morning, like me in perimenopause and probably in a rage storm at the time. And I think that's interesting to just know going in when people deliver something to you, recognize that part of it is, I don't wanna say tainted because 'cause they're not tainted, but it is influenced
Influenced.
by how they're going, you know?
And I think as soon as you are I always think, "What do I want them to do about it?" Like, when I'm at my best, not when I'm at my worst, but when I'm at my best, I try and ask myself, actually, I try and do it all the time. But at my best, I'm more likely to listen to myself and say, "What do I want this person to do as a result?" And when you think about that, you often are like, "Huh, I don't actually I want them to change to better fit what I want them to be." Like, if that's
Mm,
the outcome, like, I want them to better suit what I want right now, or be better fit the stereotype I have of them, or whatever it is, make my life easier, then you know you'll probably need to, like, dig a little deeper. Because I
mm,
agree, like, I think the number of times, and I think we should discuss this a little bit about, like, when I don't know, you're in a restaurant, you're, out on the street and someone impacts you. My one is like, I'm running, I'm jogging, and, like, groups of people know that I'm coming and don't disband, and, like, my immediate desire is to criticize them. They're like, "Watch where you're going." None of that is about them and helping them. It's all about me venting my frustration.
mm.
Do
Yeah.
you do
Are
that?
you allo Do I do it? Well, I don't know. What about complaints? Where does that fall? Because like, I am
Yeah, I think
definitely
complaints is one of them.
okay, well, I've become an email writer, and I'm about to write an email, another one
A
from this
strongly
weekend.
worded email?
Yeah, yeah, and I've done 2 strongly worded emails over the last year, and it's been about service at restaurants because it's expensive now to eat out, and when you go and you spend a lot of money and you might be one thing I had my parents, and I was, like, so proud of showing them this, like, winery, and we had this beautiful meal, and it was expensive, and the service was shocking, and
Oh,
so I sent an email, partly because I was embarrassed, like, I had talked this place up, and then also
yeah.
because it was expensive, and I was
Yeah.
really annoyed, so I wrote an email. Naturally, I got huge apologies and offers of wine, which I said no, which I'm like, "Nah,
Yeah.
why did I say no?" Anyway, but the same response from another dinner that we were at, with a group, and we had poor service, and I complained and got that back. And then this weekend, was just shambolic. A few little things happened at a ski hill, which was really annoying, and I'm like, "Not good enough." So, anyway, you'll be
Including
getting a letter.
Kristen breaking her well, not breaking, spraining your wrist.
I didn't sprain my wrist. I just leant on it a little bit too hard. Anyway, but okay, where does that fall? Being a critic? No.
I think that's a beautiful example because it feels to me your strongly worded emails fell into feedback because it was like, I've taken someone here,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
really expensive, your service didn't match up to my expectations.
Okay.
I can do something about that as a restaurant owner. I'm delighted you told me that rather than just leaving and not doing anything. I'm delighted you told me in private so that I can have a one-on-one with you. If you wanted to criticize, you would have gone straight to Google reviews and been like, "Worst
Yes.
restaurant, 1 star," and that would have been about you trying to have consequences for them, payback or, and so I do think while it is a letter of complaint, the complaint is actually can be given as feedback and it's positive and as evidenced by they were grateful and they wanted to do something about it. Whereas if you were one of those people who is like, "Nyeh, nyeh, 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 nyeh," publicly, I've noticed more and more restaurants going, "Not my problem."
Sometimes I do act, like a little bit of a Karen in the moment, but, I try I try my best. Also, by the way, I was reading something on the weekend that's like the word Karen has come probably from perimenopausal women, a lot of Karens in my generation,
Yeah.
like, woe is us, so once in a while, I'm allowed to act like a Karen.
I
Anyway,
do
okay.
think I honestly think those emails are such an example of feedback being a gift because, like,
Yeah, good.
we say that all the time at Powrsuit as well, and actually, I have to break it to you, we just got some delightful feedback from someone who wants to put a whole bunch of women from her organization on Powrsuit, and she's followed us since the start, and she just started the conversation by 15 minutes, and she spent the first 2 saying, "I just wanted to congratulate you on how far you've come since we first spoke and when you first launched, and the incredible movement you've created," and I just thought, wonderful, love that, thank you,
Yeah,
and I always end up saying, like, "But tell me anything you want us to improve as well," because for us,
yeah,
we don't get a lot
yeah,
of feedback that's
yeah.
constructive because people are so kind. So you're like, "Tell me, because the faster I know, the faster I can improve." As the restaurants probably felt like we probably need a team meeting and get our service back up to scratch because it's not where it should be and where we thought it
Mm.
was, you know?
I do know. Okay, I've just come off a call with a potential power suitor who's gonna become a power suitor, and vague feedback. I'm gonna just,
Oh, yeah.
summarize the conversation as vague feedback. So we talked about criticism, specificity, does the person care about you? And then there's this whole other epidemic of women just receiving, uh, non-feedback feedback, like, "You've done a great job," or I don't know, just niceties. And what it turns out that the common thing that this person has heard, which I've been mulling on a little bit, is you didn't get the job because you're not ready for the role. So you're not ready or you're not senior enough. And so it left this person effectively kind of extrapolating, I think I have a confidence and or executive presence. And this is someone who showed
Mhm.
up in a suit jacket, but she still looked amazing and she had her own style. And I was like, I'm sorry. This isn't like you've gone out of your way to have a chat with me, ask if Power Suit's the right fit for you. You look fabulous. I don't think you're struggling with confidence. Off that, granted, I had,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
15-minute conversation. But when you hear someone say you are not ready or seen or fill in the blanks, it is not helpful.
No.
But then so vague feedback is the thing. But the second thing I thought was like, by the time you get feedback like that, you're not ready. Like you've gone and done the job and weren't successful in the promotion or the whatever. I'm like, it's too late. So I was what I think actually I was like, you've got to start to have those conversations 12 months out.
Yeah.
What does ready look like? if you genuinely care about my development and enabling success in this organization and da 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 win win, um, like let's get these meetings regularly and figure out specifically what does ready look like in 12 months and like what do I have to develop in terms of skills, network, whatever it is. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
Mm,
that that kind of vague, I don't even know what it's called. I hate to put it under the realms of feedback because it, in my opinion, doesn't meet the definition. I can't do anything about being ready. Like, what is ready? Like you say, what's the definition of ready and how do I get there? If
yeah.
you can't tell me that, you actually haven't helped me at all. You've just given me this big mental burden of going, oh no, I know that there's something wrong, but I don't know what the thing is and I don't know how to fix it. Like, that is
Yeah.
really not a gift for someone. And
Mm.
so I do think, yes, preemptive feedback of like, and maybe it's actually the converse to feedback, the ambulance at the top of the cliff is expectation setting. This is my expectation, and this is where you are at the moment, and this is how you get there. And then at the other end is feedback. This is how you went, and this is what's next. So yeah,
I was trying to figure out, I was like, it's not a performance, what is it? Performance improvement plan? PIPs, that's what they're called
yeah,
here.
yeah, no, yeah,
Performance management. I'm like, it's the reverse of that, but
yeah.
you need to reverse engineer success in a role. And you know how in performance management, or PIPs, apparently you meet with a person like, oh, I don't know, like
Yeah.
easily once a week, if not at like huge amounts of time. And you're effectively going, you're here. This is where I need you. We're going to meet consistently in order to close that gap. No doubt be very difficult on all parties. But I'm like, surely there's a positive way without meeting weekly, but surely you can meet monthly or bi-monthly.
Kristen's like, please
And
don't make me meet weekly.
I'm like, okay, not weekly. These are like, we're not condoning that. However, there's got to be something where there's this is expectations, like you said, like real clarity. This is what would be, we anticipate these skills and this level of skill in this area and this type of network for this role, expectations of success, what they look like, specifics. And then if you're to reverse engineer it, here's where you are. This is what I'd like you focused on over the course of this year. And then you just do those monthly or bi monthly check ins.
Don't one of the things I always think about, so I don't know if every country has performance improvement plans. It's like a legal process in New Zealand
Mm,
where
mm,
it is when there is an issue with someone's performance, and that is the way that you are intending to improve it or have a,
mm.
harder conversation. The thing I always find so funny about these things is like the intention of that is actually just good leadership. It's what we should be doing all the time anyway. Maybe not every week, but it should be very much here's the expectation, here's how you get there, and I'm working with you to get there. And
Yeah.
we have put that under this big legal scary thing that only kicks in when someone's not performing. But actually, it should just be all the time because that's your job if you're a people leader.
That was a real breakthrough for me in terms of what feedback is and why people don't give feedback. Because it's scary to give, it's scary to receive, like,
Yeah.
fine. But if we're to normalize it just by being really clear on what success looks like, separating it from the human, then you're simply like, "This worked, this didn't, try this next time." It becomes more of a
Like coaching.
deeper.
It's just like
Yeah.
what we
It's
do with
not a
sports.
yeah.
Like,
Mm.
you hit the ball
Yeah.
the wrong way.
Be a
I
coach.
played frisbee golf in the weekend. I was like, "My frisbee keeps veering in one direction." Like, tell me how to veer it less in that direction. What do I
Mm,
need to tweak in my behavior to get it
mm.
closer to where I want it to go? Like, that's all it is. But because we don't do it enough, and because I think a lot of us tie our identity to work and we're awkward about it, like, it is so much less stressful to tell someone how to throw a frisbee straight than it is to tell you how to write a good essay, but it shouldn't be because it's like it's the same thing. It's a skill that you can hone, but for some reason, one of them, do we tie it to our intelligence? Do we tie it to our worth in a way that the other one we just don't really?
Speaking of awkward and feedback, do you tell people if they have spinach in between their teeth? Do you?
Yes, because we read this study how long ago? I think when we first, wrote our newsletter on giving feedback, and it was spinach that people don't tell anyone if they've got spinach in their teeth, and I was like, "Why don't I?" I thought about it after that, and now I do, and remember we were out with our old co-founder the other day, and I was, like, rubbing under his nose because I was like, "No, it's still there." I will try and again do that quite subtly. You know how you do the thing where you, like, kinda scratch your face, and then most of us are monkeys, so we just follow and then it gets solved, or you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, just there's a little something there." And then it actually, do you know what I've noticed is it makes everyone else feel uncomfortable because suddenly it's clear that they let the person just stand there with food on their face without telling them.
Well, there's a study on this. I tell people outright right away. The first minute I see it, I interrupt them because there's a study on this. It's called it was like chocolate on your face. And what they did was they put chocolate on people's faces and had them go sit with colleague, partner, whatever. I think it must have been colleague because it wouldn't have been a partner. A partner would have told you. And they watched whether anyone said anything, and almost nobody did. Almost everyone with the mark of chocolate wanted them to tell them, and the other person assumed they didn't want to know. And when I thought about this, I was like, it's totally secondhand embarrassment, but it's also
Yeah,
timing. When the person's talking and you're
yeah.
like, when? And then if they've said your name incorrectly, you're like, when do I correct them? And oh, now it's too
Too
late in the
late.
conversation. And it's so awkward. I think the chocolate on the face thing is the same thing. I used to be that way. This whole, oh my gosh, secondhand embarrassment's so big for me. That's like a thing in people's brains. I've got
It's
it.
'cause you're intense.
Um, and now I've just, like, learned. I'm like, I'd want it done to myself, so I just cut the person off and I'm like, "Oh, just do this." I actually go, "Oh, just do
Yeah,
this."
yeah,
That's
yeah.
like my go-to. "Oh, just do this," or, "Oh, just do this," and then it's done.
And
So just try
it normalizes
it.
it because we
Yeah.
all end up with those things and we all I mean, I say we all, maybe some people would prefer to just keep walking around with it, but I think most of us would like the 2-second interaction that solves the problem rather than, I don't know, walking into a room full of people and still having
It
chocolate
becomes
on your
such a
face.
non-thing when they're like, "Oh, thanks, done," and then you just move on with the conversation. Cool as a cucumber. Okay, quick fire do's and don'ts. Do you wanna just do some quick to end, quick do's and don'ts on criticism and or feedback?
Don't take
Any top of
criticism
mind?
from someone you wouldn't take advice from. I think,
Mm.
like, if you don't back their judgment, don't take criticism from them. They're probably not your person.
I don't listen that much to Brené Brown, although I appreciated the interview on The Interview, New York Times. I've, like,
Mm,
love that podcast right now, but there is one with Brené Brown. That's about the only time I've heard her. However, she has a quote that says, "If you are in the arena, why would you take advice from someone who has never been in the
oh, yeah.
arena?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love that." I'm pretty sure it's Brené Brown. I hope it is. But yeah, love that one.
And also, do you notice that when people have been in the arena, they don't give the same advice? Like, I remember, we did this 100-kilometer walk, and it was just a walk, but I knew a bunch of ultra marathoners, and I was amazed by people who'd never done anything that distance, who would quite quickly go, "Ugh, you're just walking, it's no big deal." But the people who'd done an ultra marathon were like, "That's a really big deal. It's really hard." And I was like, "Isn't that interesting that the people with experience understood what it took to do it and therefore gave you much better insight, whereas people who'd never done anything like it were so quick to judge and
Hmm,
tell you things." So I feel like it's like, don't take advice from people who've never been in the arena because they actually
love
have
it.
no idea. They have no idea how to do the thing.
I'm going to say don't accept you're not ready and get really specific on what ready looks like. So I'm going to just reiterate the point from earlier, but I'm going to add to that. Do try and reverse engineer with 6-12 months out what ready is. Like advocate
Yeah.
for your growth in a company and get curious about what a next step could look like and then get really curious about what ready looks like. And so, it's not a promise and it's not a guarantee that you're going to get it, but you're going to improve the odds. And so be really proactive around getting specific what is ready and give yourself a runway to get there and check ins.
I would say the same for you're not confident enough, you don't have executive presence, you are not experienced enough. All of those vague things that we get told that you can't do anything about, don't accept them without going, what does confident look like? What does the right experience look like? If you can't get exactly what that looks like, then they don't know and they're just criticizing you because they want you to be more like the guy
Mm,
they think you should look like, the confidence that they think it looks like. Ugh, it annoys me. That stuff annoys me. Mainly because we talk to so many Powrsuiters who have been
mm.
absolutely thrown in their career by one of those comments. And it's just like, don't accept it. Don't accept it. It's not your job. Don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it. Um,
Okay.
this is one that I've had to practice a lot. Don't give feedback in quotation marks within an hour of being annoyed or even a day sometimes. Like I sometimes am working through it. I'm an external processor. So I can work through the same thing multiple times in multiple situations to get to the underlying, what is it that I'm worried about here? And is it for them or is it for me? And sometimes it ends up being about me, let it go. And other times it's like, oh, what I thought was I was really frustrated about or that I didn't like actually is something quite different once I've taken the time, removed the emotion, and then you have a much better conversation about it.
I'm just gonna finish off with give specific praise, and so,
Yes.
not always feedback, but, I think what did we say? You need 5 pieces of praise for every piece of criticism or
Because our brains
critical
are wired to
feedback?
focus on the negative.
Yeah, and that praise should be just as specific as the feedback, and so, vague statements of like, "You're doing a great job," is not helpful. Tie it specifically to the role, the responsibility, the business outcomes, uh, uh, especially organizational and business outcomes. Tie the praise to that. What did that person do that really helped do that thing or whatever their superpower is? Call it out. Yeah,
You
that's
just
it.
reminded me, I don't know why this reminded me, it's the other, it's not criticism, but it's your intensity one I've had. You're bubbly. I think this was just after we met, someone called me bubbly at work, and I was like, "What an insult." I'm like, "What does bubbly mean?" Just like, what a dumb thing to tell someone. Maybe some people like being called bubbly, but I'm like, bubbly sorta indicates almost an air bubble, like there's
I was
nothing
just
in
gonna
there,
say
you're just
vapid.
floating
I was gonna
around.
say vapid.
I know, I was like, use
Yeah,
specific when you just said specific praise, like, say,
yeah.
"You bring great energy," or "You've always got a positive outlook." Like, say that rather than, "You're bubbly," which
I know you're in I think it is a describing, again, a personality as opposed to a very specific trait that is lovely to
yeah.
be around. Yeah, great.
Well, I feel like I put a lot of effort in this episode of holding my face together. Gosh, it takes a lot of effort. I'd rather just sit there looking bored, but actually being enthralled than spending
Check
my
out
time thinking about where my face is sitting.
Well, everyone, check out Powrsuit YouTube. Just find Powrsuit on YouTube. Take a listen to this episode. I think it's 179. It's going to be something about criticism and or feedback. And check it out and give Nat some specific feedback
On
on
my
how she
face,
went.
on my
But
face.
either way, check out
I'm just going in and out of the
powrsuit.com.
sun now, even though I tried. I tried, but now the sun's
Okay.
moved. Oh my gosh, what a fail.
All right. But check out powrsuit.com and come and join us on the inside where you actually get some reflection and homework on these very specific things as well. We've actually got a couple of feedback sessions in there. Thanks, everyone. And we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.